I'm pissed. Because my daughter I'm not going to see again. And it's school safety. It's not about gun laws right now.
Thank you for leading this country. You're a great leader. This solution is not going to be a singular thing. It's going to be multifaceted.
We're fighting hard for you, and we will not stop because the world is watching.
Breaking overnight. An attacker blows himself up after throwing a grenade at the U.S. Embassy in Montenegro.
It appears ICE is following through on its message to the Golden State that it better hold on tight after declaring sanctuary state status.
I'm not running a popularity contest. I wouldn't be in this job. We're enforcing the laws enacted by Congress.
Nancy Pelosi, here's her alternative to building a wall.
Let's talk about mowing the grass so that people can't be smuggled through the grass.
Hello, CPAC. How y'all doing? To have the president back and the vice president back 2 years in a row, this is history.
Live from New York City, it's Fox and Friends for a very busy Thursday. Come on in, Dave, the camera guy with the big camera. Yesterday was fantastic. Here in New York City,
great weather.
We hit 80 degrees, if you can believe it.
It's wonderful.
In the middle of February.
Right. I think somehow the Earth got a little closer to the sun yesterday. I'm going to go over it in the break with everybody.
I know what channel you've been watching.
Yeah, I know. And then in a couple of weeks, we'll be back to 5 degrees. But
tomorrow.
It's Thursday, guys. Downhill to the weekend now.
I know. It's great.
Thank you. But what a week.
Yeah. No kidding. We're going to talk more about the life and times of Billy Graham throughout the program. But the big live event yesterday was in the state dining room of the White House, where the president had a listening session with survivors of that shooting last week down in Florida. Also, the parents of children who were killed at Columbine and Sandy Hook. And it was so raw and so powerful. That's the father who lost a child at Columbine.
And then that lady, she
had to watch it.
She lost her child at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas.
Yeah, Betsy DeVos was there, as well as the Vice President of the United States. And what you see is, what people are beginning to realize is the president is great when he can act like the president in the unscripted situations. You hear over and over again, when the doors are closed and the president's at these meetings, whether it's when he was campaigning or in his first 13 months, 12 months as president, that's where he excels. And now he's saying, bring in the camera so you could see him in action. That's exactly what we saw yesterday. If you missed it, here are some of the moments we wanted to share with you.
All these school shootings. It doesn't make sense. Fix it. Should have been one school shooting, and we should have fixed it. And I'm pissed. Because my daughter I'm not going to see again. She's not here. So we all work together and come up with the right idea, and it's school safety. It's not about gun laws right now.
I would just like to say thank you for leading this country. You're a great leader, and I appreciate the direction that the country is going in. We all need to realize that we all have different points of views, and that this solution is not going to be a singular thing. It's going to be multifaceted. This is not just Parkland anymore. This is America. This is every student in every city and everywhere. It's everybody.
There needs to be a significant change in this country, because this has to never happen again. And people should be able to feel that when they go to school, they can be safe. And because there needs to be a change.
What great young individuals. They're so strong. Talking to the president, could you imagine everything they've gone through, and going into the White House and sitting down with the leader of the greatest country in the world and telling him how he can affect change.
And the first father we saw, Andrew Pollock, Meadows' father, who said he was really PO'd, was so powerful. He has been through a lot. Not only did he lose his daughter last week, but he was photographed holding an image of her on his smartphone, looking for his daughter that day. And he was eviscerated because he was wearing a Trump shirt at one point. He was a Trump supporter, but there he was yesterday, speaking on behalf of everybody who lost somebody and saying, look, put the politics aside. Just figure out how to fix this thing and do it now.
Because you got mental health, you have school safety, and you want to visit what's the best way to keep guns out of the hands of lunatics, no matter where you stand. And I think the NRA feels just as strongly as the most fervent Democrat. The president spoke up yesterday, and he talked about a few things. Let's listen.
We're going to do something about this horrible situation that's going on. We're going to all figure that together. We're going to be very strong on background checks, very strong emphasis on the mental health of somebody.
It's called concealed carry, where a teacher would have a concealed gun on them. Would no longer have a gun-free zone.
Next week, the governors are coming in from most of the states, and we're going to have a very serious talk about what's going on with school safety. We're fighting hard for you, and we will not stop. We will not stop. We're going to get there. Thank you for pouring out your hearts, because the world is watching, and we're going to come up with a solution.
That's what people wanted to hear. We're going to come up with a solution. To the White House's credit, they allowed the media to run the whole thing. Sometimes they would not allow the cameras on a live event like that, but they did. And it was so raw. And, you know, I'm sure some members of the media thought, okay, so many people have been so upset over the last week, somebody's going to stand up and start yelling at the president. You know, you're responsible for this. Nobody did anything like that. They were all respectful. There were a number of people who disagreed with the president. There was the fella by the name of Mark Barden, whose son was killed at Sandy Hook, and he said, Mr. President, I don't like the idea of more guns in school. But the president made a good case. If it takes 10 minutes to get the police to a school where there's a shooting, if some member of the faculty is armed, you can perhaps stop it.
Well, the president said he wants to strengthen the background checks for gun purchasers. He wants to put a strong emphasis on mental health. He also has considered banning bump stocks and possibly not allowing kids under the age, I think 20 or 21, to buy assault rifles.
Any guns.
Any guns, okay. And then allow leaders, like in schools, teachers, faculty, that kind of thing, to conceal and carry. And the kids at the school won't know who's carrying.
Yeah, there was also there was some walkouts and protests in Florida, as you know, in Illinois, in Colorado. They went up to their state houses. So I want to know what you think about the way the president handled it. What you like to see come from this? Because regardless of what party you vote for, what candidate is yours, what state you live on, we do want to be able to send children to school and not get shot to death.
We all think about our own kids in this situation, Democrat, Republican. This crosses all party lines. I think the message this week has been keep America safe, keep our kids in schools safe. We're talking about the border a lot this week. The ICE director says when it comes to keeping America safe, this is not a popularity contest. He was on with Shannon Bream last night. Listen to this.
I'm not running a popularity contest. I wouldn't be in this job. I mean, we're enforcing the laws enacted by Congress. We don't conduct raids. We conduct a targeted enforcement operation. We don't go in neighborhoods knocking on a bunch of doors looking for people different than us. Every person we arrest, we know exactly who we're going to arrest. We know exactly where we're going to arrest them based on a lot of intelligence, a lot of investigative work.
And you know what they started yesterday is they started work on 2 miles of new border wall in Calexico, California, which is about 100 miles to the east of San Diego. And what they're trying to do, obviously, is just remind people we need a big, big wall. Although Nancy Pelosi, Brian, can you figure out what she was talking about when she sat down with the Arizona Republic newspaper yesterday?
I'm going to need some help. Let's let the people listen, and maybe you could tell us what she means.
Let's sit down and talk this through and see what makes sense, not some commitment to a promise that we're going to build a wall and Mexico's going to pay for it. That's never going to happen. But let's talk about where a more serious structure might be necessary, where fencing will do, or mowing the grass so that people can't be smuggled through the grass, and that's something about levees, technology, personnel.
Yeah, I give up.
So who needs a great big wall when all you really need is a Toro?
Right, absolutely.
Hello.
So, by the way, does this tell you how clueless she is? If there's any place where it shows the wall works, it's San Diego. If there's no one that could argue with the stats that show what that wall has done and why the barrier is being bolstered, as Steve just mentioned. That's where they're going to be investing, make it a little bit higher, a little bit stronger immediately. They have money to start on that area. And a couple of things. This is the showdown. The reason why we're talking about this now, with the ICE director on with Shannon and the Congresswoman from California, is is because between the homeless situation and the rash of sanctuary cities that's become a sanctuary state, it's a showdown between ICE enforcing federal laws and this state deciding that they know more and illegals matter more than their everyday citizens.
Do you mean a showdown or a mow-down?
We don't know. Play it at home.
Nancy Pelosi
change the graphics.
That's going to keep us safe. There goes a John Deere right over there.
Right.
I think Nancy Pelosi needs to go down to the border because at least the area where I was, where you were too, the grass was pristine. It was short. It was mowed. It was really pretty, actually.
What do you think
I know
she
the
means?
border's long. I know every area is different, but where we were, the grass was mowed. They use cameras to detect motion sensors in the middle of the night to detect if there's anyone that's crossing the border. As soon as they notice that someone's crossing or going through the grass in the tall grass areas, they're on them immediately.
I think that's what she's talking about, get rid of the tall grass. All right, meanwhile, it's about 6:10 here in New York City, and Jillian joins us with a Fox News alert.
That's right. Good morning to you guys, to you at home as well. We do have some news that we're following that's breaking overnight, so let's get you caught up on this. An attacker blows himself up after throwing a grenade at the U.S. Embassy in Montenegro. No one else was hurt, and there is no major damage to the building. Right now, embassy officials are working with police to identify the suspect and a motive. Police officers lining the streets, saluting a Maryland police officer who made the ultimate sacrifice. The second cop murdered in just 12 hours. Corporal Mushahid Ramzadeen was off duty when he was shot and killed trying to help a woman threatened by her estranged husband.
He was not working, needing help. He immediately responded to that plea for help, but he saved her life by giving his own.
Ramzadeen was a Marine Corps veteran, a 14-year veteran of the force and Medal of Valor recipient. He leaves behind a wife and 4 children. His death coming shortly after Alabama officer Justin Bila was shot and killed in the line of duty. The garbage truck smashed by an Amtrak train carrying Republican lawmakers attempted to cross the tracks after the gates came down. One person inside the truck was killed in that accident in Virginia last month. A final report on the crash is still being worked on. Neighbors claim the gates malfunction often. Details released on funeral services for Billy Graham as the world mourns his loss.
God very seriously, but he never ever took himself too seriously, and I think that gave him a humanness that was very, very relatable.
His legacy, though, really is not so much in looking back, but it's looking forward, not only for him in eternity, but the fact that he has poured his life into so many people.
Profound gratitude to God that this man showed up on planet Earth to point the way to millions of people to the knowledge of Christ.
The public will be able to pay respects at the Billy Graham Library in North Carolina on Monday and Tuesday. A private funeral is scheduled for next Friday, and I'm sure it is going to be flooded with people.
I got a feeling you're